Ready?
Yeah.
Welcome to Able. I'm Callan Blair. I'm an actress living in New York City.
I'm Allie B. Gorey, and I'm an actress living in New York City who happens to be visually impaired.
Our goal is to make the entertainment industry a more inclusive place, one conversation at a time.
We hope to break down the stereotypes surrounding disability in film, TV, and theater. It's time to see art that mirrors all the people who support it.
It's time for Able. So we have one question we are beginning every conversation with. Why are you an artist?
Because there's absolutely nothing else I could possibly do or be. But I know that I'm an artist because of my brother Woody, and because since I have memory, I was entertaining him, making him laugh, communicating for him because he was nonverbal, spastic quadriplegic with cerebral palsy, but very bright. And my goal in life was to make him laugh.
Tell us about how your experiences with your brother have informed you as an artist.
Well, one of the first ones is that because he was nonverbal, I became really adept at interpreting emotions instead of words, and I've always applied it to acting. Knowing my brother made me a better actress. Just everything about him inspired me as an artist. He loved the theater. He came and saw every single thing I've ever been in or done, and he knew all the Broadway ushers. They always used to ask about him, especially up at Lincoln Center. They're all like, "How's Woody? Where's Woody?" And they would dote on him.
Will you tell us about the Elizabeth Taylor incident?
Well, I was in a Broadway play where I played Elizabeth Taylor's daughter, and
Casual.
my father and brother came in matching tuxedos, and I'd already been doing the play for about 8 months, and I would talk about Woody all the time with Elizabeth, and she couldn't wait to meet Woody, and she arranged everything so that the house cleared, and she just ran up to where Woody was, and she still had on her final scene nightgown. It was a silk nightgown with, the famous, and she just went, "Oh, Woody, I'm so glad to meet you." And she bent over, and his head flopped right into her cleavage. And she just kind of went, "Ah!" And from then on, she would say, "And how is that gorgeous Randy brother of yours?" I said, "Woody, you've been where not everybody's been,
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty famous." That's
Pretty big deal.
I won't say where no man has gone before, but,
There have been a few, I guess.
Tell us a little bit about Woody's Order.
Well, it started, I'd say like 6 years ago, I started actually developing the solo play. But my whole life, I was always called Woody's Order, because when Woody was 8, he realized that he would be all alone in the world without a sibling to care for him, and he always feared that our parents would die young. So he would touch my mother's tummy with one hand and like my father's lap, and then wave his hands like make a baby. And 9 months later, I was born, and back in the 50s, they would take a black and white Polaroid picture of you on the day you were born at the hospital, and my mother wrote Woody's Order, ! On the picture. And I was in love with my brother. I just adored him always. I never resented him. He never resented me. But what happened is my mother was killed in a car crash suddenly when I was 20. And that was like the defining moment of my life where I realized, I am Woody's Order. The prophecy is beginning to come true. So I kind of took her role over. And then within about 4 or 5 years, my father got Alzheimer's disease and had it for 10 years before he died, 15 actually. I took care of him, and I had to embrace the destiny of being Woody's Order, and it was really hard. But my whole life, I've been writing down the family stories since middle school. And I had just volumes and volumes and volumes, and I put it all into a computer, and it was like 500 pages. And so I just picked out all the stories that were about my brother and me, and I started studying with a man named Matt Hoverman, who is like the guru of solo show development. And so I took his class 5 times, because you create 20 minutes per 7 weeks. So I created the whole solo play in 20-minute increments. About halfway through the process, I wanted Woody to hear it, but I didn't want Woody to see it in an audience around other people because it's too emotional for him. So I got the idea that I would film myself reading it to him or doing parts of it so that I could capture his very, very raw first, reactions to it. And that turned into the documentary that I did that premiered at Tribeca. We actually even qualified for the Oscars. And Woody was going to be my date, but Woody passed away in January. But it was only after we didn't make the short list for the Oscars. I'm serious, because he was almost 70, and he was like hanging on to see if we made the short list. And when we didn't make the short list, then it was almost Christmas, so I think he said to himself, all right, I'll get through Christmas. But he was failing, so.
You were able to show the world your brother in his truest, fullest form.
And he's the star of the documentary,
Yeah.
And he's gorgeous. He's really steals the movie.
The way you chose to include Woody in your film is a beautiful way to represent him, and I think it's just finding the best way to represent that population.
And it came about organically in that the whole impetus was I just wanted to film him reacting to hearing it for the first time, and it just kind of turned into the whole documentary. What to me is really important about the documentary is that you see how my parents were pioneers in mainstreaming and inclusion when it did not exist, because Woody was born in 48, so his growing up years were the 50s. He was a Cub Scout. My parents took him everywhere. He went to church, he went to the restaurants, the zoo, the amusement parks. And so that's profound to see in the documentary, and it wasn't even intentional. It just came out of it.
Since Woody's Order has been screening, there have been people that see themselves in Woody. When I was growing up, for example, I'm visually impaired. I never saw anybody in a movie or on TV that was even blind or visually impaired, So I think it is important to have stories like Woody's Order so kids can see, oh, wow, like, this is an awesome person just like me. So I think that's incredible that there have already been young people that see themselves in Woody.
And Woody was brilliant at, even like as a teenager, children, when they're in the magical thinking age, they would just go right up to him and be like, how come your legs don't work? Why are you in that chair? How come you drool? And he loved it. He loved that kids did that. He was never upset, never mad at them. He would just look over at like my mom or my dad or me, like tell them, explain cerebral palsy to them. Let's teach them so they're not afraid.
I love that you said that, because one of the things we have also been talking about is people with disabilities would much prefer you just go up and ask them.
Sure.
Instead of making an inference or an assumption about who they are, what they can do. So
Let's kind of take a turn here. Let's talk about, you could get every casting director, every writer, every director in a room, and you could say something about being inclusive in the way they work, and they would be receptive. What's something you would say?
I think I would say, put yourself in the audience's shoes, put yourself in the playwright's shoes, put yourself in the character's shoes, and put yourself in the actor who's going to portray the character, and then see if you can think outside any box or boundary that you just thought through. Think about what you're writing. But you were asking about a casting director. Just watch Micah on Speechless and realize what people can do that you didn't think they could do.
Yeah.
Open your mind to knowing that there are people out there who can.
Yes.
Okay, we close out every conversation with a little game.
Okay.
So we're going to say a word or phrase, and then you'd say the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Think back to your improv classes.
Improv training days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zip, zap, zap.
Okay. New York City.
Allerton House. Oh, just one word?
No, you can say a few.
Allerton House for Women.
That's the first place you lived, right?
Accessibility.
Handicap placards.
Storytelling.
My dad.
Hollywood.
Elizabeth Taylor.
Woody.
Elizabeth Taylor.
Theater.
Lincoln Center.
Family.
Woody.
Love.
Woody.
That's it, folks.
Yeah, we got
That's
it.
it.